Members, have no doubts that I'm opposed to this bill, but I'm not opposed to the members that are in this room. And I think a lot of words have been said today, a lot of words will be said later. And I think some of these words need to be recognition that this bill, in my opinion, improved. And we do need to recognize the efforts that were made by some who presented very good ideas to improve legislation. So I want to thank Chairman Murr for having conversations, for having the courage to think internally and evaluate positions. Even if he ultimately decided not to support those positions, to have that dialogue is what makes this body so different. This is not DC. This is a time when we can get together and actually have meaningful discussion and debate. And while I am not going to be happy, I will not champion this bill as a victory. What I will say is a victory is that we continue to have this dialogue, this relationship. And I will applaud people like Chairwoman Click when she provides an amendment that is what we all agree we need. Better training for poll watchers, better training to make the entire election process smoother, one that we can have confidence in. I know people have their doubts. I don't. I used to be a county commissioner, and I know how these bipartisan election committees work. They work in unison because they know they need the bipartisan input to make the process work in their local communities. I want to thank members like Steve Allison, presented some great ideas. Briscoe Kane, who had an amendment that really helps evaluate how we can help somebody who made an unintentional mistake. So thank you, members, for being part of the process and letting us be part of this process, because we have had our reservations. And I know we didn't get everything that we wanted by a mile. I disagree with some provisions in this bill that I think specifically target large urban counties. I disagree with some of the efforts and the way that the language is still confusing. I'm still concerned someone is going to try to look over my shoulder and see who I'm voting for, or take a picture of somebody at a curbside voting who's getting assistance by a relative. I don't want their photo ending up on some social media site. I think there's a sanctity in the vote. I think we need to preserve that. I need us to have an open mind to revisit this topic. Because as my friend JM points out, in the area where I'm from, not all that long ago, people were prosecuted for voter fraud, for vote harvesting. That's a fact. That happened. I was there, and I was ashamed. But what I can say is it wasn't a poll watcher that discovered this mistake, this crime. It was everyday people talking and finding things out. It was gumshoe investigative work by law enforcement that found the culprits, prosecuted them, and convicted them. And what's happened since then? Have we seen any more of that with the enhanced scrutiny in the Rio Grande Valley? We haven't. And the reason why we haven't is because the system works. It doesn't just work at the state level. When there's a federal candidate, the FBI gets involved too. So they are also looking. And I guess that's what I'm trying to say here. We're trying to fix a system that wasn't broken. It's a system that works. So while we go into this next era with these changes that I think in many ways will discourage people from participating, I hope that we can continue this dialogue, because Texas needs it. I'm a first-generation American. My mom, though, was a longtime resident. My whole life refused to become an American. And I asked her, well, why? I said, because the system, I just don't want to be part of the system, until one day in 2001, after all the hanging chads in Florida, that she decided to apply to become a citizen. And sure enough, within 9 months, she became a U.S. citizen for one reason: so she could vote. I know there are a lot more people like my mom out there, and she would be grateful to many of you who have been thoughtful, who have been patient, and actually even listened to some of the discourse, like right now. To my colleagues, thank you for continuing to work with us. We may have a respectful disagreement. We might not ever see eye to eye on this topic. But I'm glad that we can be close enough to have that discussion. Thank you.